And next on the shopping block, we have Near. No, sorry, Dark. Excuse me, Dark. What do you have for us?
I have Yubisaki to Renren.
Yes, a
Also known
sign of
as A
affection.
Sign of Affection. Yeah, this is being
Quick
done
question, Dark.
by.
Can this series be instant death?
What the fuck?
No, because she can't hear, so she doesn't know, dude. Um,
Jesus. Anyways,
yes,
please go on.
this is being done by Ajiado, studio. This is a manga original,
Yes.
and
Okay.
this is very much a shojo series.
Yes.
So this is about our hearing impaired. I don't know why. I don't really know why they say hearing impaired. She's deaf. Like she can't hear anything, even when she
Yeah.
has, even when she
But she has
has.
hearing aids.
Yeah, which she also explains literally just makes everything sound like muddled together. Like she just knows that noises are there. um, and has no idea
Some
what
direction.
anything is.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so that is our protagonist, Yuki Itose. Um, and so a lot of the series theming is around the idea of like her world is very small. She can like commutes to campus. You know, she has her best friend, Rin, and she communicates through writing or text when people don't know Japanese Sign Language. Um,
Hmm.
but then during one day during a commute, Yuki meets fellow student Itsuomi Nagi, a multilingual travel enthusiast and friend of Rin. Um, when Itsuomi learns of Yuki's condition, he takes it in stride, moving Yuki's heart. From this one simple gesture, Yuki and Itsuomi's lives start changing day by day as they let each other into their own worlds. Um, yeah, throw that description out. Uh, just throw that out entirely. This boils down to Nagi is big. He's big and hot. He's big, hot, and cool.
Nice.
And he knows a ton of languages and he travels a lot. And isn't that cool?
So he's Superman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is fucking cool and badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this series is obviously like extremely shoujo. It's pretty cozy. It does a lot of not so much like will they won't they,
Uh-huh.
but it does a lot of like leading up to them starting a relationship, the people around them. It's on me learning some Japanese sign language, um, and just the concept of like what would you call it? Uh, them leading pretty different lives.
Yeah. It's a little bit more on like the various characters and how they kind of gel together, right? More than it is how it was in Koi no Katachi, right? Where Koi no
Yeah.
Katachi was a little bit more of a smaller scope and it was very focused on this idea of like bullying, right? Um so Yusaki to Renren is a little bit more not not just like mellow necessarily, but it's a little bit more widespread in terms of like how the screen time is balanced amongst the cast. I think.
Yeah. And so I will say though, um anyway, so yeah, so like a lot of what the series does is it's kind of doing like a lot of the pairings. So Yuki with
Hmm.
Itsuomi, Rin with his friend Nagi, and then some other supporting characters getting together with their own drama and backstories. But what I really want to focus on more so is the idea that one, I think this show falls really short on the sort of deaf and like sign language trivia. I think it falls really like just direly short on that. It took until episode 9 to talk about the fact that Yuki is not like a fucking like she's not mute, right? Like she could speak, but she
Yeah.
doesn't because when she was little, like people were like, you sound weird. And so she doesn't like to speak like or make noise, like when even when laughing or something. Um and so like the fact that it took until episode 9 to get to that is like kind of indicative of where I think this series like really falls short. Um I guess to get it out of the way, I'm not a huge fan of this series. Um I don't
What do
think it's
you? So
bad, but
yeah. Okay.
I don't think it's doing almost anything special. And I don't think
Yeah.
it's
Okay. Okay.
doing a lot at all. And that's like
Can
the
I ask
really
real quickly?
unfortunate part.
This is just like a small facet of like obviously this series, but what is the perspective balance or what is the screen time balance exactly for this series? Is it like mostly in the perspective of the main girl? Is it split pretty evenly between the main heroine and the dude? Or is it like some sort of weird even
It's
split
like
between them and like the rest of the cast?
70%. It's like 70% the main girl, like the main
Okay.
heroine, and then like kind of everyone else kind of juggles based on that of who it bounces back and forth between.
I think
Sometimes it
that's a
goes to
real pity
Itsuomi.
though, because it's like
I mean,
if
even
that
if it
was like
focused on her, I
focused
think it's
around the main girl,
fine.
then it would be. Well, what I meant is like if the focus is really around the main girl, and again, like how she kind of reaches out to the rest of the cast as well as the boy toy, right? Um, it's doubly important for this theme of like you know her being deaf, how she is able to interact. It's much more important that that be developed right properly, and as you said, as you're sort of implying right now, since it sort of isn't, like they are not really grasping at that trivia properly, it's a little bit more disappointing, I think. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's because like a lot of it is more so like, there are some really good points of trivia, and really good aspects that they start covering. Like I said, like when she talks about like not using like her voice, like not speaking, right?
Uh-huh.
Like those things can like though that can be really interesting, a really interesting thing to cover. Unfortunately, it doesn't really seem to go anywhere. Um,
Hmm.
and then beyond that,
Is the
there's even the
language barrier between them relevant at all? The
no,
sign language?
no, it's literally irrelevant because she just texts him if anything, and then he
Okay.
learns like some little bits of sign language, here and there. But I would say the main problem with this series is that it doesn't it unfortunately is not focusing on that and is not focusing on them as much as it should and is not doing enough differently, right? Like I don't give a shit about the supporting characters' relationships. I don't fucking
Yeah.
care that Itsuomi knows some girl named Emma and she's like trying to fawn over him, but he doesn't care about her and she like tries to stay at his apartment and then like that makes like Yuki question their relationship, or
Hmm.
question if he's in a relationship, but then that doesn't really even go anywhere by episode 10. Like I don't care about that. I don't want to see that. Every fucking series does that. I don't need that here.
Yeah, or
I don't
like
I
even
don't
if that
need, for
develops, that
example,
needs to
the
take a
childhood
backseat to
friend.
the main theme. Yeah, yeah,
Like I don't need the childhood friend
yeah.
who now episode 10 is like covering because like in episode 7, 8 and 9 it was like, oh, he's like definitely into her and he like knows perfect sign language and kept up with it, and um but now essentially has like missed his chance essentially. Um and it's like I don't care. What the fuck? Like what is this doing? Like this is nothing. Like what? Like
Yeah.
oh, like okay, well they're definitely not going to get together. So like what is this? It's just like a fucking like
Will they? Won't they?
just
For like
interjected
yeah.
tragedy, like just injected into the series for no fucking reason
Yeah.
whatsoever. Like okay, cool. Like why like the series like starts off significantly better when it's Yuki trying to get to know this guy, and then this guy having some semblance of mystery, and then them talking about, and then her considering her world like extremely small, whereas he's like exploring and doing shit like that. But the unfortunate part is that then that goes nowhere. Like that whole like small world thing, it has nothing to do with fucking anything other than like a
Yeah,
concept.
I
at
think
this
the
point.
problem, I think the major problem is also that there are ways that an author can tell a story about a world or like like other characters like and stuff like that without necessarily bringing them in all the time, if that makes sense. So it's like you could tell the descriptions of a world or like other potential like members that they might both know or that one person might know or whatever from the the sort of storytelling that one character does. So like the guy can start talking about his like travels and voyages, right, to this girl, and that can be part of this like mini kind of like visualization or story, right? And that can tell of a world. Um, and there can be other like little characters that are constantly pop up, like his sidekick or whatever it is, right, in that world. But the focus, I think, at least initially, should have been between the two of them, and again about how they communicate and how they merge, how they resolve their differences, right? In terms of personalities, but by bringing these other characters in so quickly and without, really mulling over these two main characters, it kind of dilutes the story, is what I'm getting, right?
And also the idea of like, is this necessary? Like,
Yeah,
is this
yeah,
even necessary? Like, what is the childhood friend adding to this? And the only thing his plot line is adding to it is literally just like going to be some really quick, nipped in the bud, like tragedy, like tragic sort of thing. And it's
yeah, yeah.
like who gives it? Like, who cares? Like, what? Like, this is again, this is nothing. This is like, this has nothing to do with this series. This can be in literally any other series. Like, why is this series that opened with an extremely interesting like idea just immediately like falling into the traps of any other fucking like shoujo romance
Right,
and
right,
doing it
right.
at like such a breakneck pace that like it really just feels vapid. And it's really
It's very
unfortunate.
unfortunate. Yeah.
um Especially because the side characters relationships are also extremely nothing, like are nothing. Like the main character, like Itsuomi and Yuki, at least have like something going on. But as far as like there's even like a thing of like Emma and Shin, like the Nagi's like another one of his friends, Shin, who's like a hairdresser and is like Emma's sort of like drinking buddy when things don't go well with her and like her advances towards Itsuomi. But like then it's revealed like, oh, he's liked her since high school, and it's like, okay, but like why do I give a fuck? Like why am I supposed to care? Like what? Like I don't fucking care. Like I barely know these characters. And also like, okay, he's liked her since high school. So like tell her like that's the only barrier between you two, like is that you just haven't said anything. So I really don't give a
Yeah.
shit. Like there's
I also think again, it's very all of this is kind of I don't want to say taking away, but the more of this stuff happens without the consideration of the main unique relevant theme, which is the girl being kind of shut off and again obviously being deaf, right? The more it gets away from that, the more it's just like, okay, like why am I watching this? Why am I reading this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, again, I mean, you could look at, I think, a successful series to look at this, and this is definitely a series that that has probably done irreparable harm to my enjoyment of anything like this, and it's
Uh-huh.
Skip and Loafer. Because once you've
Mm.
watched
Okay.
Skip and Loafer, this is like nothing. This is doing everything that did, but like a million times worse. right? Like Skip and Loafer had like the pseudo X, right? But their backstory actually had like there was something to it. There was something to why she was like a bitch in Skip and Loafer, and
Mhm.
kind of a rational reason, and then how to overcome that hang up. And it
Yeah.
was like, and it's like pretty much almost every character in this has that sort of thing. There's even an Emma and Shin relationship in Skip and Loafer too, where the model, like ex quote unquote, and like ex friend of like our in Skip and Loafer, our main uh male lead, like, and her dynamic with the other childhood friend and him being into her is way more like enticing. There's way more history there. There's way more that's elaborated on and yet balanced better, and like has more of a story than just like, oh, this dude never made an advancement on her, or like never told her how he felt, so there was no like, that's why that there's like a hang up there. It's like, no, there's a different actual reason why there's a hang up. And it goes, and it's a real like reason, not just you didn't say anything. um
Yeah.
and that's like the really frustrating part about this, is that to me, like, this series gets like hard carried by its audio visuals, which are very pretty and very nice. And the minuscule, well, not even minuscule, and the like decent amount of um like sign language and deafness like trivia, essentially. Um,
Hmm.
but it's not enough to me. Like, it's just really not even like close to being enough, in my opinion. And I
And
don't
again, I
really.
think it's also not. I just keep talking about this, but it's like it needs to, and this is again all the same with Nier's. Uh, I keep going back to the previous episodes that we covered, even within this season, right? Nier's Mahjong series, right? Pon no Michi, um, my Hokkaido Gal series, right? And now this series, it's not reaching out to the thing that I'm reading in terms of like when I'm going past the aisle and I see this series, the reason why I'm reading this series, the premise, I'm not getting it. Like I'm not getting it. So it's it should, even if it gets overshadowed maybe by stuff like One Week Friends or Koi no Katachi, whatever, it should still have tried to do something with that theme, but it didn't. And that's what's so frustrating about it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much like spot on, is that it really just it's
Didn't do
more of
either
like
one.
the most standard thing possible with like
Yeah,
dashes
it
of what you want from it.
yeah, it didn't do the rom com and the slice of life very well, like above average or going beyond above and beyond either very well either. It didn't do that well, and it also didn't do the premise well. So it's like, where are you going with this? Where are
Yeah,
you
I
going
mean,
with this,
it's
friend?
one of those things where it's just like, oh yeah, you like have to, in some of these series you can treat it as like, your medicine or like your vegetables. Like, you do need to have it. You're gonna need to get around it like at some point. But this is just like a like 90% like
Yeah.
fucking vegetable, and like, yeah, I don't want this. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want, no thank you. I
No,
would
thank
much
you.
rather find a much more balanced series, please.
Yeah.
That doesn't get
K-
extremely frustrating.
can we talk a little bit about the audio visuals?
Yeah, I mean, they're nice. Like, there's really not a ton to say about them. They're very clean. I think this is a
What
really
studio
good
was this?
showing. Aja
Uh,
Do,
sorry.
which has
Sorry,
done
Ajiado. Yeah.
Bookworm.
Yes.
Yeah, so they've done
Yes.
like
Yes.
Bookworm, Kimono Jihen, which Kimono Jihen was like pretty good audio visuals. I would say Bookworm kind of really falls off in a lot of. I don't know how Revenger looked, because I had no interest in watching that series. Um, but I will say I think this is a really, really good showing for this studio. I think this is
Hmm.
probably their best looking series yet. I hope that moving forward we get like another season of Bookworm, applies this same sort of quality.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Because that would be very, very cool to see. Yeah, I mean, as far as our VAs go, like, you know, Shimane, Miyazaki Yu for Itsuomi, and for Yuki. The music is pretty cozy. These sort of cartoony transitions and like jokier moments and stuff. Styles of characters are pretty okay. And yeah, like you know, not I wouldn't say it's not like it's nothing to write home about audio visuals. They are definitely good for the studio and they're good in general, but they're not gonna like blow you away, right?
Yeah,
But they do
for sure.
have a sense of like polish to them.
All right, very good. Any last words on the series?
Yeah, I don't know if I could realistically recommend. Um,
What would you mal rate it?
what I mal rated 6.5 probably.
Okay.
Like I'm gonna be honest with you, like this shit has an 8.3 on Mal, and it's like I genuinely think
It's not
these like
surprising.
people are like, what, a shiny shoujo?
Yeah, I mean it's a
A-
shiny looking
Oh,
shoujo series with
romance.
with a relatively
yeah.
straightforward romance. I don't see like
Doki
it's not
doki.
really surprising. Like
Yeah, it's like it's not like baffling to me, but it's like, you know, don't let that deceive you. This is not like that level of quality,
Yeah,
right?
of
Like,
course.
this
Yeah,
yeah.
is not
I mean
as far as
like you were saying,
story
right? Like it's not
goes.
like bad, but it's just like a massive like wasted potential, right? So
yeah. There's
Yeah,
no
it's
reason really to watch it. Yeah.
if like you there are like a million other shojo series like you should watch before you ever get to something like this. And it's unfortunate. Like fucking what's it called is a significantly better time than this and has more dynamics to it. Chihaya Furu, even in as its own like self as having like shojo bits to it. Um, like you'd even be better off with that, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, I guess like if you haven't watched Skip and Loafer, maybe you would get through this without getting to, you know, the really basic frustrating parts that I run into. But if you have like watched Skip and Loafer or like a really solid romance series that knows how to like tackle these things and these types of characters and make them interesting, I think this series is going to give you like a lot of frustrations when
Yeah,
you want
if
when
you've
like
seen other like really good series, it's a little bit hard to justify this one.
yeah, because like I said, like you're gonna get like, you know, I'm on like I start seeing the best friend, like the childhood friend thing start up, and I'm like, no, like, no, what the fuck? Like, I just wanted the relationship. Like, what are you doing? Like, don't do
Yeah,
this. Like, don't do this shit. And then I get to episode 9, and I didn't even watch the most recent episode because the most recent episode is like the childhood friend in full swing. And it's like, why are we doing this on episode 10? Like, out of 12.
yeah.
What the fuck? Like, you know
Yeah,
what? I think I'm okay. I think I'm good to drop this series then. If like
very
this is what's
unfortunate.
waiting for me in the final few episodes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Very
Oh,
unfortunate, but you know, it might have something for people that um can either look past that or just kind of want like a really basic, really easy watch with good visuals and
mhm.
okay trivia at moments.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dark. Again, that was Yubisaki to Renren or Sign of Affection, manga original. Again, it was one of the bigger kind of hyped up series coming into this season, but it's a little bit unfortunate that it did pan out that way. But again, thank you very much, Dark, for helping to cover that.